Hi, all. Welcome to a new series I'm doing for my followers where I attempt to take huge dental staffing issues and condense them into bite sized webinars for you to watch during your lunch break or in between patients. This week's bite is all about retention, retaining your team so your practice can grow and thrive. Retention is one of my favorite things to talk about because here's the thing. You have to have your house in order before you start hiring. Or else you might find yourself in this situation where you have a revolving door of assistants, hygienists, or front office staff, which really doesn't benefit you at all. So I love to talk about retaining our current team members and then also onboarding new team members for retention. If we can focus on getting those systems in place, when we do hire, we know that we are hiring for the long term. Also, if you are trying to grow your practice, which I'm sure most of you are, it's my personal opinion that staff retention is the number one key to success in regards to growing your practice. So let's get into it. I was teaching a CE course back in September, and I had asked everyone if they had an employee that had quit that they wish they had done more to retain. And over half the room put their hand up. When I asked why, there were some good stories about how great the person was or their passion for their patients. But the majority said, and I'm going to summarize here, but the majority of them said that if I had just agreed to the raise they wanted, I would have saved so much money, time, and headache. Being short staffed in a dental practice, I don't have to tell you, it's extremely costly. And if you look at this chart, dental professionals, they fall into the skilled, hourly, and professional position type, meaning just to replace someone on your team, you'll be looking to pay about 75 up to 125% of their annual salary. This includes utilizing a recruiter or costly job boards, the time it takes to write and post jobs and hold interviews, the time to onboard and train them. All of that adds up to become very, very expensive. Plus, a dental practice, it's even more costly since everybody's roles are so specialized for their position. So, being short staffed in a dental practice, beyond the other items that I had already mentioned, results in loss of production. You could have disgruntled or overly worked employees, which results in even more turnover for your practice. We don't have the means to track the exact cost, but tens of thousands of dollars lost just because we are failing to retain our current staff. So constant turnover for the practice, it's costly and it's costly to the growth that your practice needs. So yes, there is a cost to retain talent, but it is way less costly than having to constantly hire new people for your practice. And I mention this because I want you to be open to investing for your team, investing in retention. It's not just giving raises, but coming up with other things to retain your staff. And I'm going to get into those right now. So let's focus on long-term retention of our current team members. Um, and here are some ways to go about doing that. I came up with this list. I obviously did some research, but I had also reached out to a lot of my clients where I had put someone in their practice 15 years ago, and that person is still with them. So I reached out to a lot of my long-term clients that had long-term retention of their employees, and I kind of combined this list with other things that I discovered during some research. So number one is let your team be creative. Offer your team ways to be creative. Might seem challenging in a dental practice. Dental assistant's a dental assistant, right? But what we find is that the passionate employees, they love solving problems and they want to share their ideas and opinions with you. So, to prevent them from seeking opportunities elsewhere, we want to foster their need for creative input. For example, you can involve them in marketing efforts or managing social media. If they request a raise, ask them to brainstorm ways that they can help increase production to justify that raise. If production is low or kind of slow one month, invite them to suggest strategies for improvement or ways to bring in new patients. Long ago, when I was running dental practices, I had a dental assistant, and she suggested, why don't we print up some flyers and drop them off at all of the apartment buildings in the surrounding area? She was so stoked when we executed her idea, and it brought us in some new patients. So, just giving people the outlet to be creative, regardless of their position, they're going to appreciate it, and they're going to want to continue to contribute to the practice and stay with you long term because you value them. Number two, this goes without saying, provide excellent pay and benefits. This one does come at a cost, but again, let's remember that the cost of some really great benefits is a lot less than constantly having to restaff your practice. If you are the office that is offering better pay and better benefits than all the other practices in the area, it's going to be very hard for employees to leave for a better opportunity. Plus, your employees, they're going to see this as a sign that you genuinely care about their well being, which is huge. And better benefits does not have to be extreme. You could do something as simple as offering one mental health day per quarter. And that's going to make a big difference in their perception of your commitment to their overall well being. And they're going to want to stay with you because you care. Number three, offer better benefits the longer they stay. I'm seeing a lot of my clients do this lately. So every year that someone stays at their practice, they get a whole extra week of paid time off, up to 5 or 6 weeks. If I had 5 weeks of paid time off, I would never leave my job because I'm going to soak up those 5 weeks of paid time off and want to use them every single year for the rest of my life. And they know if they leave your practice, they're losing that benefit, and they're going to have to work their way up, probably in a practice that only maybe gives 1 to 2 weeks of paid time off a year. So giving them the opportunity, the longer they stay with you, to get more paid time off is a huge thing that I'm seeing a lot of practice start to utilize. And then I've seen this start to happen more and more is practices are giving a percentage of ownership to someone that's been with the practice for a really long time. So one of my clients, his office manager was with him for 15 years. He gave her 1% of the practice, very small amount. But what this equates to for her is at the end of the year, if the practice does really well, she gets 1% of all the revenue for that. And then if the practice ever sells, she gets 1% of that the revenue from the sell. And this does a couple things. Yes, that employee is so bought into the success of the practice every single day. She runs the entire practice for the doctor, and the doctor just gets to practice dentistry. So she is going to be staying with him for life, and she is going to run that practice so well, so efficiently. Another thing that it does is any new employees that are joining the practice, they're thinking, I also will have the opportunity to work my way up to 1% ownership of this practice. And they're going to want to stay as long as they can to get to that point. And then obviously, once they own a bit of the practice, they're going to stay in the long haul. Probably huge dollar amount here that everybody's shaking their head like, no way. But I do definitely think the benefits outweigh the costs in this scenario. I will say I do not know the legality of this, so definitely talk to a labor lawyer before you implement this into your practice. Number four, we want to create opportunities for professional and personal advancement. It's obviously human nature. People get bored doing the same thing indefinitely, and a new job kind of gives them that short little serotonin boost of mixing things up. But if you can offer them new positions within your practice to help get them that same serotonin burst, that would be ideal. So it doesn't have to be anything crazy, but we want to give your ambitious employees a way to work their way up. And we want to be very clear with what those paths to advancements are for your employees. So for a dental assistant, it might look something like this. They join you as a dental assistant. They're with you for a couple years. You've told them if they can achieve X, Y, and Z at the end of 3 years, you'll assist them in the cost of getting their registered or certified dental assistant license. Then they're with you for 3 years and they've been able to prove that they can do X, Y, and Z again. Then they get promoted to lead registered or certified dental assistant. Again, with you for 3, 4, 5 years. Beyond that, they've proven that they can do X, Y, and Z. They become your team lead, and so on and so forth until they work their way up to a back office manager. To get through all of these steps, you're doing 3 to 5 years with each step. That person's with you 15 plus years, working their way up to the top as the back office manager. So just really increases their longevity. They have a goal to work towards. You've made it very clear what the parameters are to what they have to do to hit those goals. And they're going to stay with you once they manage to get to that back office manager because they worked extremely hard to get there. Be a mentor. People don't want to work for a boss anymore. They would rather work for somebody and with somebody that genuinely cares about their growth and their future. They see themselves more as mentees than employees. I hear a lot of people do not like that term employees anymore. I always try to stick with staff members or team. And it's for this reason. So, by adopting a mentoring approach within your practice, it shows that you're supportive, you're engaging, you care about their work environment, and that's really what's gonna resonate with their expectations and help retain their loyalty with you. Don't micromanage. Nobody likes it. And in today's market, again, people really want to be in a practice where they have a trusting relationship and they do prefer that autonomy. So demonstrate how to perform the task, have them prove to you they know how to do the task, and then leave them alone and let them do their job. Obviously, checking in periodically from time to time, but just don't micromanage. And then lastly, be vocal with praise and appreciation. Thank them often for their hard work. Celebrate any success that they've had with the team. You know, if a patient complimented them next day at the morning huddle, announced to the team that they got this compliment from a patient and why you agree with that compliment. People love being appreciated. So just being vocal about your appreciation is going to be huge. I want to take a second here to point out that other than points 2 and 3, these do not cost money to implement this. So do them, and then you're going to watch that your employees are going to take more ownership. They're going to have more loyalty to you, and you are not going to have to worry about turnover within your practice. So now we have this implemented for our employees, our current employees to stay long-term. Let's talk about onboarding for retention. Again, this is me working with HR professionals on systems that they have to onboard accordingly, and then my dental practices that have that longevity. I've had them share what they're doing to onboard for retention, and these are those ideas here. First thing is, why do we even care about onboarding? So studies show that new hires who go through a structured onboarding process are 58% more likely to stay with the company for 3 or more years. 3 or more years. So imagine that. You invest 1 to 2 weeks in this person and you're getting a 3+ year return on your investment. I think that's pretty good, especially since we know dental assistants in particular and hygienists, we're seeing a lot more turnover with those positions. So I think knowing this stat is pretty huge. Okay, so how do we go about doing this? We want to make the employee's first day extremely special. My suggestion is call them the day before they start or text them, hey, I'm buying the team lunch in honor of your first day. Here are some restaurants. Pick which one you want me to order from and let me know what item you want. And I'll get it ordered and I'll get the rest of the team's the rest of the team's order. This is going to be huge for their psyche the first day, knowing like, oh my gosh, there's buying lunch for me and the whole team. Everybody's going to be so excited that I'm joining the team because they're all getting free lunch now. So that's a very exciting way. And then when they get there, decorate the office with banners or flowers, present them with their own personal coffee mug, provide a welcome badge for them to wear. When you introduce them to the team and the patients, do it with a compliment. You just really want to celebrate throughout the day that this person is joining your practice. They're going to be excited that they chose such an amazing practice to join because, oh my gosh, they went out of their way to make sure that my first day was so special. Make sure you schedule out time on their first day, preferably in the morning, to sit down with them to review the employee handbook with them. Make sure that their role is clearly defined and in writing. And then when you introduce them to everybody else on the team, you introduce them with what their role is and make sure that is clearly defined as well, so they know exactly who everybody is, what everybody does, and they don't have any questions in regards to the team. Number 3, map out what the first 2 weeks will look like. It is so easy in dentistry to just throw them in to the office and say get to work, but what we really want to do is map out times to chat and connect with them. So instead of just you see them in the hall, hey, how are things going, you don't necessarily want to do that. You want to schedule out times for you guys to connect. So hey, just so you know, on Wednesday at 3:00 we're going to sit down and talk about how things are going, and then Monday next week we'll sit down and talk about how your whole week was before. So that way they are mentally prepared to have these conversations with you. So if they did have any questions or they had any concerns that they didn't want to just like spit out at you in the middle of the hall, you're scheduling that time to sit down and connect with them and address any issues that they may be having within those first 2 weeks. It's going to go a long way to make sure that they're happy those first 2 weeks, and then they're obviously going to retain beyond that. Give your new hires a buddy. This could be someone in their same position, or in a perfect world, whoever your happiest, most loyal, most outgoing employee is. But just having someone that they know they can be instant friends with is going to make them very sticky. And it gives them someone to come to should they have any questions or concerns that they might not feel comfortable going to you with, or you're just busy and they need it addressed as soon as possible and they're worried about bugging someone on the team. If they have an instant friend, they know I'm not necessarily bugging them. I'm just going to my friend for help. So give them a buddy right out the gate. And it could be as simple as, hey, this is Michelle. She knows everything there is to know about this practice and she loves helping everybody on the team. If you have any questions or concerns and I'm not readily available, she's your go-to gal. And then have Michelle kind of take over and just have a quick little conversation with her, welcoming her to the team and everything like that. Number 4, check in and give feedback and praise often. Try to catch them doing something right, and then take a moment to celebrate that they did that, then take a moment to celebrate with the team that they did that. So just anytime you can celebrate them on doing something wonderful for the practice, go ahead and do it. And then if you do have any feedback, obviously just reach out to them and try to nip any issues in the butt as soon as possible in a nice, friendly manner, obviously. That's definitely a huge key to success. So they don't think they're just walking around doing everything wrong. You've addressed any issues that you have about how they're doing things. Once you make it through the first week or two, you can definitely cool it down with all of the feedback and the celebrating and everything like that. But you do want to make sure that you do your 3-month review. If a raise at the 90-day mark was discussed at the time of hire, you want to make sure that's given to them. Or if they're not going to get that raise, you need to be ready to explain to them why they're not getting that raise, and then have action items put into place so they know exactly what they need to do to hit that target so that they can get their raise that was promised to them. And that is all I have on retention for long-term employees to help grow your practice. Here's all my contact information should you have any questions. This QR code is going to take you to my blog where I answer lots of different items about staffing, marketing, as well as just kind of tips and tricks to run your practice a little bit better. All right. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great day.